Good morning. I am here with yesterday and today's Bible readings. Sorry I did not get one up yesterday. Our computers were down most of the day. And then when our computer wasn't down, I was in bed the rest of the time. But I'm going to do a 2-day Bible reading for you guys today. The computers surprisingly are working really good today. Knock on wood. That's really weird. Okay, we're still reading in the Voice translation. Feels like there's a hair in my eye. There it is. Okay. Still reading in the Voice translation, and we're going to start with yesterday's Bible reading, which would be 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 25 through verse 40. Now when it comes to unmarried young women, I did not have a command from our Lord. The best I can do is to give you my advice as a trustworthy brother who knows the Lord's mercy well. Because of the challenging times we live in, I think the best plan is to stay as you are. If you are married, don't divorce. If you are single, there is no need to get married. But if you decide to get married, this is not a sin. There is nothing wrong with a young woman taking a husband, but know that marriage is not easy, and those who marry will face hard times. I am only trying to protect you. But hear what I say, brothers and sisters. The time is short and growing shorter, so for the time remaining, even if you have wives, live with the undivided focus of those who do not have them. Those who cry should live as those who have no tears. Those who rejoice should live as those who have no pleasure. Those who buy things should live as those who do not possess anything. If you make use of this rebellious and broken world, live as if you have no use for it, because the form of this world is fading away. My primary desire is for you to be free from the worries that plague humanity. A single man can focus on the things of the Lord and how to please the Lord, but a married man has to worry about the details of the here and now and how to please his wife. A married man will always have divided loyalties. The same idea is true for a young unmarried woman. She concerns herself only with the work of the Lord and how to dedicate herself entirely, body and spirit, to her Lord. On the other hand, a married woman has vast responsibilities for her family and a desire to please her husband. I am not trying to give you more rules and regulations. I only want to give you advice that is fitting and helpful. I want to help you live lives of faithful devotion to the Lord without any distraction. But I have this advice for every single man. If anyone thinks he is behaving badly toward his fiancée, if he desires prove to be too much for him, and if he feels they ought to marry, then he should do what he wants. It is not wrong to marry her. It is better that we let men and women in this situation do as they wish and get married. If a man has no compulsion and chooses not to marry his fiancée, but commits himself to live a celibate life for the sake of following God, and has the strength to live out his conviction, then he is doing a good thing. So those who marry do a good thing, and they will share in a holy blessing. Those who do not marry do an even better thing, because they are part of an even greater blessing in the service of God. A wife should stay by her husband's side all of his life. But if he dies, she is free to marry any man she wishes as long as it is in the Lord. You can likely guess that in my opinion, this woman would be better off to remain single. And I think I have this insight from God's Spirit. And that was 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 25 through verse 40. Now we're going to read Psalm 32, a contemplative song of David. How happy is the one whose wrongs are forgiven, whose sin is hidden from sight. How happy is the person whose sin the Eternal will not take into account. How happy are those who no longer lie to themselves or others. When I refused to admit my wrongs, I was miserable, moaning and complaining all day long, so that even my bones felt brittle. Day and night your hand kept pressing on me. My strength dried up like water in the summer heat. You wore me down. When I finally saw my own lies, I owned up to my sins before you, and I did not try to hide my evil deeds from you. I said to myself, I'll admit all my sins to the Eternal, and you lifted and carried away the guilt of my sin. So let all who are devoted to you speak honestly to you now, while you are still listening, for then, when the floods come, surely the rushing water will not reach them. You are my hiding place. You will keep me out of trouble and envelope me with songs that remind me I am free. I will teach you and tell you the way to go and how to get there. I will give you good counsel, and I will watch over you. But don't be stubborn and stupid like horses and mules, who, if not reined by leather and metal, will run wild, ignoring their masters. Tormented and empty are wicked and destructive people, but the ones who trust in the Eternal is wrapped tightly in His gracious love. Express your joy. Be happy in Him, you who are good and true. Go ahead, shout, and rejoice aloud, you whose hearts are honest and straightforward. That was Psalm 32, a contemplative song of David. And lastly, for yesterday's Bible reading, we're going to read Proverbs chapter 21, verses 5 through verse 7. A well thought out plan will work to your advantage, but hasty actions will cost you dearly. The fortune made by a swindler is a fast-burning fog and a recipe for death. Wicked people will be swept up in their own violence because they refuse to seek justice. And that was Proverbs chapter 21, verses 5 through 7. Okay guys, that was yesterday's Bible reading. And I'm now going to go to today's Bible reading. And we are going to begin where we just left off in 1 Corinthians. So we're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 8 right now. As to the concern of eating food dedicated to idols, we know that all of us have knowledge, but knowledge can be risky. Knowledge promotes overconfidence, and worse, arrogance. But charity of the heart, love that is, looks to build up others. Just because a person presumes to have some bit of knowledge, that person doesn't necessarily have the right kind of knowledge. But if someone loves God, it is certain that God has already known that one. So to address your concerns about eating food offered to idols, let me start with what we know. An idol is essentially nothing, and there is no other God but the one. And even if the majority believes there are many so-called gods in heaven and on earth, certainly many worship such gods and lords. This is not our view. For us there is one God, the Father, who is the ultimate source of all things and the goal of our lives. And there is one Lord, Jesus the Anointed, the liberating King. Through him all things were created, and by him we are redeemed. But this knowledge is not in everyone. Up until now, some have been so familiar with idols and what goes on in the temples that when they eat meat that has been offered first to some idol, their weak consciences are polluted. This is the issue. Again, here's what we know. What we eat will not bring us closer to God. We gain nothing in feasting and lose nothing by fasting. Now let me warn you, don't let your newfound liberty cause those who don't know this to fall face first. Let's say a person, someone who knows of Jesus, sees you eating in the temple of an idol, and because the person with a weaker conscience is still unsure of things, he becomes confident, follows your lead, and eats idol food. Now because of your knowledge on display in your conduct, the weaker brother or sister for whom the Anointed One died is destroyed, ruined. What's more, by living according to your knowledge, you have sinned against these brothers and sisters and wounded their weak consciousness. And because you sinned against them, you have sinned against the Anointed One, the liberating King. So if any type of food is an issue that causes my brothers and sisters to fall away from God, then God forbid I should ever eat it again, so that I would never be the crack, the rise, or the rock on the road that causes them to stumble. That was 1 Corinthians chapter 8. Now we're going to go to, it stays up there, stay up there. Okay. Page kept wanting to move down. Now we're going to go to Psalm 33, verses 1 through verse 11. Release your heart's joy in sweet music to the Eternal. When the upright passionately sing glory-filled songs to Him, everything is in its right place. Worship the Eternal with your instruments, strings offering their praise. Write all filled songs to Him on the 10-stringed harp. Sing to Him a new song. Play each the best way you can, and don't be afraid to be bold with your joyful fillings. For the word of the Eternal is perfect and true. His actions are always faithful and right. He loves virtue and equity. The Eternal's love fills the whole earth. The unfathomable cosmos came into being at the word of the Eternal's imagination, a solitary voice in endless darkness. The breath of His mouth whispered the sea of stars into existence. He gathers every drop of every ocean as in a jar, securing the ocean depths as His watery treasure. Let all people stand in awe of the Eternal. Let every man, woman, and child live in wonder of him. For he spoke, and all things came into being. A single command from his lips, and all creation obeyed and stood its ground. The Eternal cripples the schemes of the other nations. He impedes the plans of rival peoples. The Eternal's purposes will last till the end of time. The thoughts of his heart will awaken and stir all generations. And that was Psalm chapter 33, verses 1 through verse 11. And lastly, for our Bible reading today is Proverbs chapter 21, verses 8 through 10. Dishonest people walk along the crooked path they have made, but the innocent travel the straight course they have laid. It is better to dwell outside on the corner of your roof than to live inside your house with a badgering wife. Wicked people delight in doing bad things. Their neighbors never see even a hint of compassion. And that was Proverbs chapter 21, verses 8 through verse 10. Okay, guys, that was the Bible reading for today, August 13th, 2014, as well as yesterday's. So you've got a 2-day Bible reading. So it's a little bit longer. I apologize. I hope it touched your guys' hearts. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Let's bring those souls to Jesus. And God willing, I'll see you guys tomorrow with another Bible reading. Bye, guys. God bless.